small prayer, and that would be on Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. I should say the Guru, who is a revolutionary in Advaita. Stavakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine avatar varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Shruti smriti purananam alayam karunalayam namami bhagavat padam shankaram lokashankaram. Sorry, I had to remember Adi Shankara, who is the propounder of phenomenon. So it just came up, and I had to praise with his chants. So there have been many questions in people's lives. Whenever I get to counsel people, people are tormented with some or the other problem. Like, you know, the affair that we have, the relationship problem that we have, the professional tussle that we have, you know, the hassles that the work that you encounter with. There are very many questions. So before deeply delving into the questions or the problems, we would just understand how we react to the problem. You know, it is very, tricky though, to make us realize how we actually encounter the stress. But Rishi Patanjali had been very crisp and clear in his terms. He says, yes, this is how you react to a problematic situation. He gives that with a small sutra where he says, dukkha daurmanasya angame jayatva shvasa prashvasa vikshepaha sahabhuvaha. What does he say? You have some companions with you when you encounter a problem. What companions do you have? He says dukkha. Dukkha can be physical affliction or mental pain. You know, Daurmanasya, the second one he terms as Daurmanasya, which means weakling of the mind, the weakness of the mind. When the mind gets weak, what will be the immediate response? The frustration aspect that you have. You encounter a conflict, you kind of have that frustration inside. That's the sort of weak mind response to. Third one is, it is very unique that he talks about angamejayatva. He talks about some um, variability, of movements in your body. Have you ever sit down and meditated? Manish might have made you do more of pranayama sessions and meditation sessions. Have you ever done that? Uh, okay. Can we have a quick recap? Let us just experience how our body makes us, sit straight. Okay, here we go. Close your eyes. Wherever you are on a couch, you're on a chair, you're on floor, you're on a cushion. Don't worry. Just close your eyes and try to sit straight. Relax all your arms. Close down your eyes. Why to close your eyes? The eyes are doors of mind. So if you're going to open them, your mind is going to fly away. So keep it closed with your heart and try to observe how your body is getting straight. Is it straight or does it move? If is it moving, can you try to stop the mild movements of your body? Can you? Do you get to gain hold upon the mild back and forth movement of your body? Is your head moving? Is your spine moving? Gently, with a few blinks, open your eyes. Now you have to be frank. How many did find their body to be moving, and how many did find their body to be stable? I'll start with me myself, okay? I found my body moving. Okay, here you go.
Moving.
Moving, moving,
Moving.
moving, moving.
Moving.
Little bit
Yes.
moving, not much.
Little bit moving. Yes, yes. Little bit moving.
Moving.
Moving. Yes. Still moving. Simona says still moving. Yeah, yeah. So Patanjali says, when the mind is afflicted with some kind of despair or pain, you could find a slight movement in your body. And when you closely connect to yourself, find that movement, then you do understand you are in the state of despair. Though we have beautiful smiles, but still we have some sort of sorrow, some sort of miseries, some sort of troublesome feeling inside. The body gets to know it, and that's how it responds in the way of mild movement. Anga me jayatva. What's the fourth thing that he's, calling as a companion which comes along with the misery? Shwasa prashwasa vikshepaha. Your breath, your inhalation and exhalation is never rhythmatic. You either inhale or you exhale, but you inhale, exhale in such a manner that it is never put into a, if it is put into a graph, the graph will never find a linear equation, it seems. You can find the drops, you can find the peaks, that's how it goes. These are the four companions that lives with us when we respond to day-to-day stress, when we respond to our emotional stress. That's what Patanjali says. Okay, this is very much about misery. This is very much about problem. I don't want to talk about my problem because I know this is my problem. I know this is how I respond. But what does Patanjali says to get over from these companions that we have, great companions? He says, tat pratishedhartam ekatattvaha abhyasaha. Tat pratishedhartham. If you want to get away from all those companions, all those four companions, dukkha, daurmanasya, angamejayatva, shvasa, prashvasa, all the four which I've been mentioning, if you want to get over them, you got to practice one pointedness on one thing, he says. What is one pointedness on one thing? Now here comes the answer of Aurelia. Sacrificing duality and holding on to oneness. Why do we have to sacrifice duality? Why do you got to sacrifice duality? Let us push aside Patanjali's principle of oneness into one principle, ekatattva. Ekatattva means one principle, one pointedness. Let us push that aside for a time being, okay? And then understand, why do you got to sacrifice this duality? What is there in the duality? Okay, a quick recap on duality. The dualities of life includes good, evil. pain, pleasure. You know, praise, insult, honor, disgrace. You know, it also includes pleasure, pain, energy, matter, everything, everything. The entire universe, if you kind of perceive it, you will find all of them is, coupled, is actually into the packets of couples. All these couples are called dualities of life, and we call it as dvandva in Sanskrit. Dualities. Anywhere you go down to yoga scriptures, you go down to Vedantic scriptures, you go to Ramana Maharshi, you go to Thakur Sri Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, you go to greatest of greatest seers of this nation, greatest of greatest poets of this entire universe, he or she says, get away from these dualities. How do you get away from these dualities? By dying. people get People think that only when they die they get away from the dualities of life. No, no. It is an excellent technique of way of living. That's how you get away from these dualities, and you prosper from a beggar to a rich man. Like, I'm not talking about in the terms of finance, in the terms of money, but in terms of happiness. Okay. A beggar wants things. We are all wanting happiness. Please give me love. We beg for happiness from others. We are all beggars now. So Advaita or Adishankara says, don't beg. You're not beggars. You're royal princes and princesses. How do you get to that richness of happiness? He says, these dualities of life has to be discarded. How do you discard them? They are very much there. They are existing there. But only when you change your lens of the eye, the perception varies and the dualities stop to exist. How do you change that bifocal lens? which says all of them or two? How do you again? Okay. So Rishi Patanjali says, Ekatattva Abhyasaha, one-pointedness on one thing. What happens when you concentrate? For example, you take up some novel, okay, and then you start to read the novel again and again and again and again. Okay, 2 hours are over, 2 days are over, 5 days are over. Even if it is a novel which is of a thriller kind, if it pulls your attraction, then you take up the novel and then you start concentrating upon it. Otherwise, what happens when you concentrate upon one single thing of any worldly matter, for that matter? A kind of boredom surfaces in. Don't you find that? You feel bored about it. The same thing again and again. You love your work, you love your profession, right? But still, while doing the same thing again and again, time and again, what happens? What happens? You feel bored. Mental restlessness that also gets. By practicing one pointedness, you try to surface the inner restlessness, and that's how you throw it out. Rishi Patanjali says, when you throw that inner restlessness out, when the boredom and restlessness peaks up, there arises a kind of clarity in your mind, of perception in your mind. You might have heard about Swami Vivekananda, right? He's a great potential yogi, seer himself. He used to meditate for hours, meditate for days, months, weeks, they say. How can he concentrate upon one particular thing for such a long period of time? Yes, one, because he might have been a good practitioner, yoga practitioner in his previous life, and that's how he is able to do it. But he knows that while I sit for 3 hours together, it is not that I'm going to meditate upon, it is that I'm surfacing all my inner restlessness out. And if I'm going to stay with that, then I would be a restless kind of personality. No, what do you got to do? I have to focus a little more on it. Stay a little longer in the meditation. Stay a little longer in the pranayama session. Stay a little longer in the posture. I'm not talking about Vivekananda, I'm talking about us. Okay. Push a little longer. Stay a little longer. Arise intensity of knowledge. How does this arise? This does not arise by me speaking over you, listening to me, you listening to everyone. You might have listened to many people. This does not arise in that way. I was actually, um, you know, trying to quote what Upanishad wants to say over here. Spiritual wisdom, which comes at the end part of Vedas, the ancient literary work, which has not been written by anyone. So these Upanishads gives an answer. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyaha na medhaya na bahuna shrutena. When does this oneness principle arise? The Upanishad says this speaking by listening to people or by intellectual analysis or by logically explaining things. No, it will not happen. It will not happen. And it again and again says, Nanya panta vidyate yanaya. There is no other alternative to actually realize this one principle. What alternative, what option that Upanishads gives you? Upanishads gives the alternate, you know, two alternates, I should say. Swami Vivekananda says that they are his role model. Role model for millions of people, trillions of people all along the nations. He has something as his own goals. So what are his goals? So let us try to hold his garment and then try to recognize what he is arriving onto. He says, Atmano mokshartam jagat hitaya cha. There are only two goals of his. Atmano mokshartam. Realize yourself. Jagat hitaya cha. Serve to humanity. Serve to humanity. So when you serve humans, when you serve people, what happens? What happens? You have something called expectation in return. Swami Vivekananda in Hindi, he's a Bangla speaker. He also speaks certain things in Hindi. He says, मैं उस देव का सेवक हूं जिसे अज्ञानी लोग मनुष्य बोलते हैं. I am the server of that God who ignorant people call as men. He thinks the entire human society is God and divine beings. He doesn't think. He realizes welcome to the session. Sorry, I just realized. Rekha, hi. Yeah. We think we are different. But Vivekananda and every phenomenon, not only Vivekananda, every phenomenon, every principle of Vedanta, of Upanishads, of Advaita philosophy says each and every soul is divine. Now, I'll again quote Swami Vivekananda. Swamiji is not getting out of my mind. Each and every soul is. What is the goal? How do you manifest that divinity? And he gives two simple methods. One, realize yourself and understand the same self is there in all and serve all. Serve the entire society. That's beautiful a phenomenon Advaita is. And this is how you sacrifice duality. You can serve people who are on streets, right? For example, when we take up this, resolution of serving people. Okay, let me go to the people who is lying down on the streets. Let me just purchase some blankets and then give them, so that in this cold weather, I hope Romania is still colder. Yes, it is. So let me just, serve them with these warm blankets so that they get good night's sleep. Swamiji says, Swami Vivekananda says, why do you do that? You are doing with an intention that you are someone powerful. You are someone higher, superior to them. Don't have that attitude. Don't have that attitude. It is not through out of compassion or grace that you have to serve people. It is with devotion that you have to serve people, he says. How do you devote your mother? If your mother is sick, is bedridden, won't you go? Won't you go and help her? You will definitely do, right? See that mother in each and every soul around. How do you do that? Not with compassion, not with anger. How can you serve your boss who is being tormenting you all the time? How can you serve the person who is, an opponent in your profession, whom you find him as or her as an opponent in your profession? How do you do that? Bhagavad Gita comes into picture here. I can't even, to me, it's very difficult to beat around the bushes. I should take up all those classical works, literary works, making you here and there, but still you'll get to understand what I'm talking about. So Bhagavad Gita says, Atmaupam yena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo mataha. Krishna says, I'll regard that person as the ultimate like Joyous, who started the Vinyas Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, the greater yogi, who Krishna calls as the greater yogi. He says he is the greatest among all yogis who could find one in all and all in one. One in all and all in one. How do you find that? By getting over, by going beyond the dualities of life. Sukham va yadi va dukkham samam pashyati. One who sees the pleasure and pain as the same. As the same. How could you do that? It is literally not possible, When I'm awarded, when I'm given the greatest among all the awards, I'll be happy, I'll be rejoicing, I'll be along with my friends doing the cheers things. You know? And when I lose some of my loved ones, yes, I will be shedding my tears. I'll be miserable. I'll be worrying. How can I see those things equal? And I'm asking Krishna, and you call Krishna that one who sees sukha and dukkha, pain and pleasure as one, as the greatest yogi. Please tell me, how do you see that? How do you see that equanimity amongst all situations, come what may? There's one again answer that Krishna gives. Yadrichhalabha santushtaha dvandvatita matsaraha yadrichhalabha santushtaha. What does it mean? You know what happens when you're not expecting anything and something good happens to you yourself? You know, what will be your reaction? You will not be jumping off the ground, but you will be in a state of stillness, right? In a state of stillness that we call as tabdha in Sanskrit, right? Like, what happens when you see vast blue infinite ocean? You'll be awestruck, right? You'll have that stillness. He says happiness is the state of stillness. When I jump on and off my bed, then that is monkey business. That is not happiness. So happiness, we do not know what happiness is. Happiness is the real bliss, the state of silence that you get. Okay. So he says, when you are not expecting anything and certain good things come up to your life, that is yadrichha labha. And you become contented, you become satisfied, you know. It is a lottery jackpot. You've just won $10 in it. But you're so happy, contented with that $10. Don't you feel? You feel so lucky, you feel so happy about yourself. However small, however insignificant the goodness was. That is how you should react with good and evil, Krishna says. With pain and pleasure, he says. Let me get to that example of being a beggar. A beggar doesn't expect anything. He's just lying down on the streets. You know, half the time dozed off because he's hungry. And then he doesn't know whether he's sleeping or dozing off, you know. He's given some amount of money by someone. He's so happy about it. He is asked by a policeman nearby to vacate the place, you know. He's not bothered about it. Don't you see that? He sees the pleasure and pain in his life as same. His situation is not going to be different anymore. I'm not asking you to be begging on the streets, but can you just follow the heart, the emotional response that he has? The entire world was crying, was shrieking when the corona virus hit. But not even one beggar was found positive with corona. We were told to use hand sanitizers. It's mind blowing. So any pain, any distress, any affliction, mental or physical, will happen only when you are in the state of disturbed mind. And disturbed mind occurs because of this duality. Disturbed mind dwells in duality. And when you are out of this, he is stronger, he is more immune. No? Don't take it as a wrong example, but do you understand my point? Do you get my point what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. So the troubled mind dwells in duality. Let me come to that. What kind of duality? Why are we into this duality? Because duality creates confusion. The famous to be or not to be, to do or not to do, to speak here or to not speak. Do I emote this way or shouldn't I? Do I have to go with him, let go, or do not go with him, stand behind, or, fight against? This is the cause of all odds of our life. You believe it or not, the job stress, the affair stress, the relationship problem, the mommy child issues, the daddy child issues, all those things are because of this confusion, the duality. When or where to draw the line, we do not know. Divided mind is the cause of misery, is the cause of fear. And on the contrary, again, I would try to say, have you ever realized what happiness is? Not this little, she was so tall, I had to carry like this. She was on my laps. It was a beautiful gem. She was my first one. I have two issues. But daughter is always more kind, more dear, no? Daughters are always sweet. So she was tall, she was a beautiful gem lying on my lap. And that was the moment of happiness to me. And in that happiness, there was no duality. I wasn't fighting with her. I wasn't a career for her education, for her marriage. Marriage is a big thing here. Whether you believe it or not, Indian marriages are so luxurious, you'll not believe. So I was not in that duality when she was put into my laps. I was in totality. That moment, I realized happiness is a state of totality. There's no duality. It is just being one. And coming back to the point, tat pratishedhartam ekatattvaha abhyasaha, Patanjali says, ekatattva, one pointedness, being one with that one thing is the solution, he says. What that one thing should be? Swamiji said it can be your football. Swami Vivekananda says that one thing can be your football, because if you love football that way, you can meditate upon that football in great passion. You can sit for hours together. That one thing can be my daughter. No? That one thing can be God, Ishvara. That one thing can be Guru, one who dispels the darkness, one who clears away all your doubts, you are not, you don't find your individuality at all. You are with them. You know, that one thing can be your guru. That one thing can be you yourself. You yourself, Imola. You yourself, Mihail. You yourself, Carolina. You yourself, Christina. You yourself, Ada and Cassie. No. You can be with yourself. But here again, there is a tricky position. When I say when I'm with myself, I'm with my true self, which is beyond this, you know, which is that feeling which I had when my daughter is put on my laps. That totality. That moment can happen to everyone, right? That moment is there with everyone. You have definitely experienced those moments in your life. You just have to rehearse that, rewind that button, and then relive those moments, cling on to them rather than clinging on to the past. Sacrificing state of yoga, when you just keep yourself away from all those sorrows, all those miseries. And how do you do that? Equanimity. Take all the events of your life as blessings, as situations that you are growing with it. If the bad thing happens, I have learned this from this bad thing. I have grown myself out of it. If good things happen, you have to grow through it. So take those two blessings, pain and pleasure, good and evil, heat and cold, insult and honor, all those dualities as situations which will help you grow out of them. Take them as situations, take them as opportunities. Like you run the hurdle race. I've done many in my schools. I used to run relay, I used to run hurdles. I love running races. I used to be competitive, back 20 years, but I'm given Adi Shankar as phenomenon of Advaita. Okay, so when I used to run, I used to be many hurdles and I had to leap off, run and leap off, run and leap off, run and leap. And I used to, be overjoyed by that very hurdle. Sometimes I feel this is how life is. You know, Life throws you at all beautiful surprises, all awful surprises. Beautiful surprises don't get entangled to it because this is attractive, very attractive. When you cling it on, then that event itself can give you sense of so beautiful. Five, 6-year-old kids, they're so chubby, they're so mushy, no? They're so cute now, you can just hold on to them. But by just clinging on to them, will never make them grow. Yeah. We'll never make ourselves grow out of that affection. So clinging on to beautiful things is also even dangerous. Clinging on to bad things is also dangerous because you become frustrated. Okay. One more thing, and I will end with this. Adi Shankara, the propounder of principle of Advaita. What is Advaita? Going beyond dualities and seeking that oneness in everyone, in everything. He says, universe has multiplicity. The nature of universe is being multiple. See the trees. Some leaves are small, some leaves are strong, broad. Can you see worms? They have a huge variety of worms. If you see butterflies, have huge varieties, different colors. How beautiful. The universe is says, can you gather yourself? Can you pull yourself together and deal with that multiplicity? You can't deal with it. You love people to be, having various attributes, various qualities, and you love to be with those people around. But for how long? We ourselves claim that, oh, he is not matching with my own frequency. We want like-minded people to go together. Why so? Why? To feel bored? To make yourself insignificant and unimportant? No, you don't want that, right? You don't want one among the sheep. Even the sheep is not the same. The mother sheep knows where his, kid sheep is amongst, thousands of sheep. Even one sheep is not different to another. Same way, that you are one in that multiplicity. Find that oneness in the multiplicity. That is the teaching of Adi Shankara. And then if you want, I can go on and on and on, but I'll stop here and I'll take few questions so that I can move on and talk about job stress the next Sunday. But definitely when job stress arises, I would be giving the phenomenal answers of principles of Advaita only, because Advaita is the philosophy of finding oneness is called Advaita. Advaita is the real solution to all problems of universe, to all the problems of universe. I was reminded of Ramana Maharishi here. Ramana, we call him as Bhagavan. Bhagavan means the Lord. Bhagavan was asked a question. He was in deep state of meditation. So the person, he's a Westerner, he asked Bhagavan, do you think sacrificing is the solution? What all to sacrifice? Ego to be sacrificed, mind to be sacrificed, the indriyas, the sense organs to be sacrificed. Everything has to be sacrificed to gain supremacy in spirituality. What all to sacrifice? He asks. Bhagavan doesn't, give a long answer. He never gives long answers. He just gives one single sentence, and it's like it's a hit on the hit on the nail. He says, sacrifice the possessor too. Possessor means sacrifice. The one who has the mind, one who has the indriyas, the sense organs, one who has the ego, everything. Sacrifice even the possessor too, he says. So that is, real Advaita. That is, an Advaita, a phenomenon apart, above, I should say. So I'll end here, and there are few things. No, okay. I thought there are few questions in the chat. The chat does not have any questions. If you have any questions, please I'm happy here. Either nobody understood, or or everybody had understood. There's a awful silence here. Okay, let me just ask you a few questions, so that it can be a kind of, satsanga. Ears has this hole here, another hole here too. So when things comes through one ear hole, it goes away from the other two. So I don't want that to happen. I want this to happen. So I will ask a quick cue to Mihala. Mihala, are you ready? Don't worry, there's no marks carried to the question, and you're not going to attend any examination or interview. So whether the things have been carried forward or not in a better manner. Mihela, what is oneness for you? When did you observe oneness? Okay, that would be a better question.
Well, oneness is beyond duality, but it's hard to find in this.
And you're completely, involved, merged into that silence, into that oneness.
Not really.
Not
I don't
really.
think. Not
Okay.
think. No.
Okay. Okay. Alina. Yeah, Mihela, sorry.
I experienced in meditation moments of complete silence, but I remember exactly that moment. It was silence, but I don't remember when was that. Was I don't know how to explain, but
yes,
it was a long time ago.
Long time ago. Oh,
Yes.
okay. So you got to perpetuate this moment, Mihaela.
Yes. I need to
You
meditate more.
Yes, or otherwise just close your eyes, rewind the entire life of yours, and then find that moment. Grab hold to that.
I want to hold, to attach on that moment. Is also attachment
No,
involved here? No.
Great, Mihaela. So it is not attaching. It is just, trying to relive the moment so that you are accustomed to that oneness. Now we are accustomed to sorrow.
Yes.
Now we are accustomed to anger. We are accustomed to jealousy because we have been doing that. We might have been fox, the cunning fox,
Yes.
So we would have got those impressions, the samskaras. So what do you got to do? Relive those moments of oneness. So perhaps Mehala, in the next janma, in the next birth, these moments which you have relived, create a new samskara, create a new impression that you will go beyond it. Try to catch hold of it. So it is not attachment. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
keep.
It is not working on, it is working within.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Alina, hi. Oh, Manish, yes.
Okay. Yeah, you can take me later after Alina, but I will just clear the point. So Rekha has wrote, I find I understand at some level, but very difficult to do actually. So exactly. So listening is quite easy. We can understand, but when it comes to doing practically, do you have any tricks that we can bring it in our personal life as well?
Manish, just you were in there. You know, you know why? You know why there is no trick? How do you understand the beauty of rose without an eye? Eye is very necessary to acknowledge, to appreciate the beauty of the rose. Okay. How will you appreciate the beauty of beauty? Come on. So, the oneness principle is not comprehended by eye, is not comprehended by mind, is not comprehended by intellect, because it is beyond all these. So, comprehension is not important. Working within is important. Okay. And then what do you find? Restlessness. I'll tell you. You will find restlessness. It will come. You will find, what am I doing? Oh, Alina will think, oh, Alina, what are you doing? This is a stupid thing. You'll feel boredom. This will happen. You know, Rekha, this will happen. Restlessness and boredom will surface. But just as I mentioned, just 30 to 40 minutes ago, when the restlessness and boredom peak, or Rekha, you listening, Rekha has to work within. I don't find Rekha here. I don't know why. Yeah. Oh, Rekha. Yes. Yes. Rekha is a beautiful Indian name also. So Rekha, it is not just working, outside. You have to work within. Try to understand which is your emotional component, which is your intellectual component, where is your ego crying, all those things, and then find that equilibrium amongst all those components within. When you do that, then only you understand. Nobody here in any language could speak about this. To retain this principle, you got to. How do you teach swimming in an online course? You tell me. How do you teach swimming? You got to go inside water, right? You got to, shake your hands and legs. It's, you know, yeah. I don't think so. It will take a week, Melena. It can take months. It can take years. It can take one full life also. Melena says, I'll take a week and then find that peak. So to find that peak, it can take months also. So you got to go inside water. You got to slap that water with your hands, with your legs, and that's how you learn swimming, right? Don't you find that the logic? No? So it is going inside and then swimming across the odds. You got to do it. Yeah, Alina. So I'll end with Alina here. Or if anyone else has anything to share, anything to speak, I'll be more honored, or otherwise I'll go along.
So
Okay.
I'll talk about what totality means for me, what I understood, or
Yeah.
well, it's that state of mind and spirit when you don't feel those strong emotions like excitement when something good happens, or extreme sorrow and pain when something bad happens, and fear. You don't just go through one emotion to other like a ping pong ball.
How do you do it, Alina? How do you do it?
No, this becomes in time. First, you have to notice this happening. Like first, you're just the actor, and you get involved in everything, and you become agitated. You cannot see, but as you maybe by meditation, I know it helps because you develop the ability of observing yourself. So then the next step would be become an observer, and you will notice yourself like you're calm, and then something, I don't know, the cat breaks a glass or something, and then you suddenly become angry. But it's that moment, sometimes it will happen that you will notice yourself
That you are
going
more
through that,
composed.
becoming the actor.
Yes.
And yeah, well, and in time, I think you just don't just keep practicing. You won't get angry anymore, or you just start to be a little angry, and you said, "No, it's okay.
This is not.
It's just a
Yeah.
game,"
Yeah.
and it
So
will become you in time.
yeah. So
This
I'll
state
add
of
up to Alina's things with a small example, and then we'll finish over here. Oh, sorry, Rekha had something to say, and then we'll finish with that. When I got, pregnant for the first time, I was being, given so many informations about the parturition, the child labor, and the pain involved in the child labor. So it was terrifying. I was so scared about it. I did, I could very much, with the help of yoga, deliver my child in a very good health and all. And the second time I got pregnant, I wasn't that scared. So sometimes experience can also teach. With experiences and with the state of observing the experiences, you get more matured. And that's how you are, in a stage of a big sister can help the small younger brother of yours. Why do you got to get stressed with this small examination of your school? Why? Because you've got to know about many of these examinations. You have encountered many of those stressful examinations, and you've grown out of it. So when you do that, when you grow out of it, when you have that observer attitude, as Alina was telling, with experiences after experiences, you should grow out of it. Yeah, Rekha.
Yes, thank you. So I had two things. At the beginning, you started talking about how we are beggars for happiness and beggars and then you for love and whatever, and then you brought in the positive beggar metaphor. And the beggar becomes somehow sees this oneness because he goes through so much pain that he finally lets go of all expectations. That's the way I understood it, right? Just wanted to
Yes.
clarify that.
Yes.
Okay.
You're right.
Mhm.
You're right, Rekha.
But I hope we don't have to all go through all that suffering to get to that state of
No, look, suffering when you uh, perceive it as pain, it would be suffering. That's the thing I was mentioning. When your little brother is suffering because of his examination, you as a big sister, what do you do? Oh, it's a petty examination. It doesn't even, uh, decide about your credentials. You just have to give away with it. Don't worry. You know, that's a kind of attitude that you have to develop for sufferings. That's a kind of attitude that you have to develop for the pleasure, for the, for the nice things that are happening in your life. A easy, sportive kind of attitude, seeing everything in common.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rekha. I hope that's more on Advaita today, and an extra dose. It can be boredom also. So we'll take up this boredom and restlessness up, pick us up, and then find clarity in life. Thank you so very much, and we'll meet the next Sunday with, yes, job and occupational stress.
Okay, can I ask you to on your camera, if you don't mind, to take me a screenshot of this? And if you don't want your face there, you can off the
No,
camera.
my camera is on.
No, no, I'm talking to everyone.
Okay. Oh, for everyone. Yes.
Yeah. So if you don't want, you can take it off. If you want, you can put it on. Okay. So 7, 6, 4. Yeah, internet is slow, so we have to count from 7 today. 2. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Manish. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a great
Bye.
weekend.
Bye.
Thanks,
Namaste.
bye.
Okay. So Simona, I can't see her online. I can't even see her offline. So we are ready to start. Okay. Any muscle fever from last time?
Yeah, as usual.
Okay, but it's slowly going down or not going down?
It's going down.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. So, okay, I have to off the recording as well.